Благослови, душе моя Господа, благословен еси Господи.
For Christian life is liturgy personalized. In 1513, Michelangelo Buonarroti completed the frescoes in the Sistine Chapel in Rome. In the magnificent creation scene, the life-giving finger of God stretches out and almost, but not quite, touches the outstretched finger of the reclining Adam. Liturgy is what fills the gap between those two fingers. For God in the Sistine metaphor is a creating, life-giving, saving, redeeming hand, ever reaching out toward us, and salvation history is the story of our hands, raised or refusing to be raised, in never-ending reception of and thanksgiving for that gift. Of course, here I am using the term liturgy in the broadest Pauline sense to include what the fathers of the Church called the entire economia or commercium, that ongoing saving, give and take between God and us, the Jacob's ladder of salvation history. This theology of Christian liturgy flows from the seminal principle of New Testament teaching that all salvation history is recapitulated and personalized in Jesus Christ. Everything in sacred history, every event, object, sacred place, theophany, cult, has been assumed into the person of the incarnate Christ. He is God's eternal Word, His new creation and the new Adam, the new Pasch and its Lamb, the new covenant, the new circumcision in the heavenly manna, God's temple, the new sacrifice and its priest, the fulfillment of the Sabbath rest, and the Messianic age that has come. All that went before is fulfilled in Him. For as Hebrews 10 tells us, the law has but a shadow of the good things to come, instead of the true form of these realities, and that includes all worship. This revelation lays the foundation for any Christian theology of liturgy and spirituality. True worship pleasing to the Father is none other than the saving life, death, and resurrection of Christ. But since through baptism we too are Christ, our worship is His same sacrificial existence in us. To live is Christ, Paul tells us in Philippians 1, and to be saved is to be conformed to Christ by dying to self and rising to new life in Him, who as the last Adam is the definitive form of redeemed human nature. For we know, as Philippians 3 tells us, the power of His resurrection only if we share His sufferings, becoming like Him in His death. This liturgy of life, our true Christian liturgy, is the Church's common celebration of our salvation in Christ. As such, it is the most perfect expression and realization of the spirituality of the Church. The spiritual life is life in Christ, and this life is created, fed, and renewed in the liturgy. Baptized into the mystery of His death and resurrection, we rise in Him, having put on Christ, so that, as Paul says, I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me.
Благослови, душе моя Господа, благословен еси